Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you today, and it's great to see you here and giving up some of your precious outdoor time on this fabulous day to join us here at the Dorothy Pico Nature Center. I'm Dawn Snyder. I'm co-president of our Les Hills Wildlands chapter. Ruth Rose is also co-president, partner in crime. Tom and Sherry Stewart are their co-presidents, and Danielle's going to be sharing the bulk of the program. She's our secretary. Marcy is gone today, and a couple of other board members weren't able to be here, but we're thrilled if you're here to learn about our native plants. I know some of you are members and some of you are not, and we're hoping that either way, our message comes through and you look at some place in your yard or in your world to plant some native plants to help us along with our journey and being able to have a healthier planet. So with that, we got a couple things in mind today, and one of those is really for the past several years, we've done some native plant sales in different structures and ways. And for the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years now, we've been doing it at Tom and Sherry's home, and they live in Morningside. And the plants are, we don't order them in advance for you. You don't pre-order the plants. They're coming, and Daniel will show more about that as we go. So this is to kind of kick off your dreaming, and I'm sure some of you have been dreaming and already planning and scheming and buying and whatever else. But we have about 22, 23 or so species.
I think I have 21
25,
slides.
whatever. Species that we've selected for our spring sale, and that will be on May 18th for non-members, for the public. And then if you are a Les Hills Wildlands member, this is a nice perk. If you become a member, you can get free access or early access on Friday the 17th for the first dibs on the plants, and there'll also be a reduced price for those plants too. So keep that in mind. If you're not a member, you might want to become a member just for that benefit. So we'll share about those plants, and also there's a calendar of events with some other activities that are coming up. We do offer garden walks around the area to showcase some of our members and friends' different gardens and some of the things that they're doing in their spaces. We have Adopt a Highway or Adopt a Street along Lincoln Way and South Review Park. We just got that for the Les Hills Wildlands, so if you want to help with the trash cleanup on Cinco de Mayo on May 5th, that's on there too. And we'll also be, shameless plug for May the 4th, be with you on the Fowler Forest Preserve hike. I will be leading that wildflower walk down at this beautiful treasure of native wildflowers in the woodlands near Smithland, Iowa, and that's on Saturday, May 4th at 10 a.m. So all those events are also on our website, which Ruth has done a fabulous job getting those things going. And we'll be continuing to offer more events as we go, and always open to ideas. So if you're interested in getting more information, there's a sign up here. And if you didn't get one of the handouts for today and would like one, we've got some right here. I will let you take it, Jeannie, and pass around. If there's anybody else, put your hand up. Thanks, Jeannie. So with that, anything else from board members I need to share? Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Danielle, and you want to put this over your ear, you can. And then bend it, however you want to do it.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like
how's that? All
Turn this
right.
off too. Is that enough light for you if I
I'm
turn
good.
this off? Is that enough light for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you
Dawn,
done?
okay back there? Do you want this other light off or you want it on?
I'm hearing on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Dawn. I am Danielle Metzger, like Dawn said, and I'm a member of the Les Hills Wild Ones. And I serve as the secretary and technical support on the side. And I don't know,
Is that, it's not picking up we thought we had closed captioning turned on. Now it's listening. Let's see if that works. There we go.
So I've been on the Les Hills Wild Ones as a member since 2019. And we live in Hinton. Is it picking up?
Are you zooming too?
Yes. This is my daughter Lily. She's gonna be 9 here next month, and she does a lot of gardening with me. And my husband's back there. We have the privilege of being able to design and build a brand new home about 5 years ago. This will be our 5th summer there. And I'm lucky that he's let me do pretty much whatever I want with landscaping as far as my native garden beds go. I have probably a dozen different kinds of native flower beds there that I've been planting, maintaining, and editing each year. And I've got a few of the pictures in here are mine, and you'll see I've credited myself for those pictures. All right. So Wild Ones promotes native landscapes through education, advocacy, and collaborative action. Our dwindling biodiversity is a threat to the foundation of life on Earth. In the last century alone, we've lost millions of acres of diverse ecosystems to urbanization. Native plants help protect and restore biodiversity. They improve air and water quality and provide wildlife with essential food and shelter. Planting native plants in spaces where we live, work, gather, learn, and play fosters a closer connection to nature, boosting our mental and physical health, emotional and spiritual well-being. Wild Ones focuses on promoting native plant palettes and regenerative landscaping practices that preserve and nurture the variety of life in the world around us. So why do we care so much about the native plants? They're critical to our ecosystem health and form the foundation of regional food webs. The plants absorb minerals from the soil and they pull carbon from the air, converting solar energy into food. Animals, people, we can't do that. We can heat our homes and power our cars with solar energy, but we can't eat sunlight, and we cannot sustain our bodies without plants. People eat plants, and people consume other creatures that eat plants. Diets of the group depend upon the ability of insects to digest plants. And as it turns out, our insects tend to be specialists, feeding on and pollinating a narrow spectrum of plant life, sometimes just a single species. Studying insect populations in Delaware, renowned entomologist Dr. Doug Tellamy reports 90% of the insects that eat plants can develop and reproduce only on the plants with which they share an evolutionary history. So pictured here is the monarch butterfly, and it depends on milkweed as a larval host. And it's well documented and well publicized. If there's no milkweed, there's no monarchs. All monarch populations have experienced steady and in some years dangerously high declines over the past 2 decades. Research points to climate change in the form of extreme weather events, habitat loss through deforestation, and the widespread use of herbicides as the primary drivers of this decline. The displacement and degradation of native plant communities in favor of chemical-intensive monocultures, sorry if you're a farmer in here, like soybeans, wheat, and corn, and urban and suburban swaths of chemical-intensive lawn and non-native ornamental plants has led to the decline of insect populations. Our gardens are essentially buffet tables. Let's invite the insects in and plant the food that they need. Landscaping with our native plants helps restore healthy and natural ecosystems. Native plants provide the food and shelter for insects and birds. They are the foundation of food webs and enable these insects and amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammal populations to thrive. Native gardens are the buffet for the butterflies, bees, and other pollinators. Farms and gardens interplanted with native plants result in higher crop yields. Human life is dependent on healthy pollinator populations to pollinate our food sources. That's a lot of peas in there. Pollinators are responsible for 1 in every 3 bites of food that we take and increase our nation's crop values each year by more than 15 billion with a B dollars. Native plants play an important role in combating climate crisis. They remove carbon from the air through photosynthesis with their deep roots. They're particularly effective at capturing and storing carbon, much of it below the ground. If you're looking to reduce your carbon footprint, you need to consider landscaping with native plants as part of the solution. This is a picture that I took. Native plants are well adapted to region's soils, winds, freeze-thaw cycles, and the whims of Mother Nature. They thrive under natural conditions and tend to do better when neglected by otherwise over-attentive gardeners, which I'm not. Native plants require minimal inputs. They don't need fertilizer, supplemental water, or significant maintenance. Once they're established, you do need to water them when you plant them. Native plants' robust and deep root systems mitigate stormwater runoff, reduce erosion, and filter out excess nutrients, heavy metals, and toxins that improve our water quality. I'm sure you've heard enough now. You just want to know about the plants, right? You have to know why they're important.
It's not listening to you.
It's not listening to me anymore. Wonder why it stops listening.
It's not a spouse, is it?
All right, is it listening now?
Yes, it is.
It says it is. Okay. Our first plant on our plant sale, this is a Les Hills native that can be found on sunny, south-facing hilltops. It's one of the earliest blooming prairie flowers, sometimes covered with snow. This delicate flower attracts bees, and sometimes if you look closely, you will find a bee inside taking a nap and keeping warm. And I'm not kidding, I've seen this. Ruth and I both have. And you too. You can plant this beautiful white to light purple flower in a rock garden or any area that is dry with other low-growing flowers and grasses such as prairie smoke, blue-eyed grass, or June grass. And on my slides, I've noted things that we also carry on are going to be on our sale in bold. So we'll have prairie smoke and June grass also on our sale. And this stuff's all in your handout too. The bold should show on your handout. Next, we have wild columbine. This is also a Les Hills native, and it can be planted in those gardens that get full sun to part shade, and it can tolerate somewhat dry conditions. The red and yellow colors will attract bees, beetles, and hummingbirds. It can self-seed easily, and it will pop up in lots of different places. And it's a good companion to other late spring blooming shade plants like wild geranium, phlox, beard tongue species, and golden alexander. And I should plug, if someone has something they want to share about any of these plants, feel free to just shout it out. Like this does pop up in lots of places. Dottie.
Levon and I worked at the Railroad Museum today for a couple hours, and we have 5 prairie smoke plants blooming their hearts out.
Wow, awesome. That one's on our sale too. We'll be talking about that shortly. Jeannie. Yeah. Oh, nice. She says they grow in pots. I was just repeating what you said. Perfect.
Because I have some that come up every year that just volunteer their larger pots. And we fill in the whole pot, so we don't have to worry about what I'm gonna plant inside there.
Nice. Next, we have rose milkweed. This is also a Les Hills native milkweed that does not disappoint in attracting the monarch butterflies. This is a picture that I took in my garden. And this milkweed also signifies why it's important to know scientific names, because this one has multiple common names. It can be called swamp milkweed, marsh milkweed, rose milkweed. I'm not going to try to butcher scientific names because I'm a nurse by background, and this does not mean much to me other than Asclepias, Carnata, something like that. But expect this one to get at least 4 to 5 feet tall in full sun, attracts many bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and wasps. The beautiful pink flowers are fragrant and spectacular to look at closely. It's important to note, again, that monarchs will only lay their eggs on milkweed species, and the caterpillar will only eat leaves of milkweed plants. Their future existence relies on us to help promote their habitat filled with milkweeds.
Does this one spread real well?
I don't think it spreads too much, not as much as some of the other milkweeds, like the common milkweed.
And this goes well with other tall wildflowers, including the blazing star, Culver's root, Joe Pye weed, boneset, or tall ironweed.
The Dorothy Pico Nature Center has several of them on their back water feature, and they were planted probably half a dozen years ago or more, and they have not spread at all. They've been really well behaved on their clumps, so very, very good at attracting those monarchs.
And next we have my favorite milkweed. This is the butterfly weed. This beautiful milkweed is the only orange flowered milkweed in the United States and Canada. It's an outstanding plant for gardens in well-drained soil, and it can be mixed with short prairie grasses to keep away the weeds. It's not easily moved, so pick your spot carefully. It has very attractive seed pods in the fall and all winter long. Coming in at only 2 to 3 feet tall, it makes the perfect main attraction in your front yard garden while also being a host plant to the monarch butterfly. Other good plants that go with the butterfly milkweed include blazing star, Virginia mountain mint, nodding onion, wild bergamot, or spiderwort. But be patient and don't get discouraged. It's one of the last ones that pops out of the ground in the spring. I thought that they all died, and then all of a sudden, boop, there they came. Next, we have white false indigo, and this is a new plant to me, so I don't have this one in my garden yet. But my research found this, white false indigo can be found in medium to moist prairies, savanna to dry open woods. Its towering spires of pure white flowers and blue-green foliage will make it a showstopper in your home garden during the summer months. It's slow to get going, but is very long-lived and is another one of those that is not easily moved once it's established. It would be best planted in groups of 3 to 5 in your rain garden, near the bird bath, or downspout, or any other garden setting. Make sure to plant short prairie grasses around it and under it to keep those weeds away, because it doesn't have a lot of leaves on the lower side of it.
Gets really neat seed pods too.
Next, we have one of our grasses, and I know I'm in the minority, but I love the grasses. They're like one of my favorites. I think it's because they're green all season long, whereas the flowers come and go. Sedges, sorry, this one's a sedge. I love grasses and sedges. And this one is a Carex species, the curly style wood sedge. It grows in small tufts with fine leaves that are able to stand out in the shade. Coming in at only a foot tall, this cute little sedge will be a great companion among any of the wildflowers. And you could even plant it around your white wild indigo to help with weed control.
This is the first time we've had this on our sale, so I don't think any of us are familiar.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
The next one we have is wild senna, and this is another new to me plant, but has very attractive buttery yellow flowers. It seems like a good choice for me. It does well in most any kind of soil and tolerates part sun. The summertime long-lasting blooms will be sure to bring in the bumblebees to feast on its high-quality nectar. One source said it can get up to 6 feet tall in full sun and can get floppy and form a colony. So you might want to put some companion plants around it that are also a little aggressive and tall, like wild bergamot or flowering spurge. And it's also closely related to the partridge pea, which is an annual, has similar yellow flowers, but partridge pea is very little. It's very tall. Next, we have another one of my favorites. This is the pale purple coneflower. It's an early summer blooming daisy-like beauty, and it will do well anywhere in your yard except the moist spots. It really likes it dry. This coneflower is popular with the butterflies, and the seed heads are useful to the birds in the winter. The pastel purple flowers mix well with white flowers such as wild quinine and any other prairie grasses. Next, we have rattlesnake master. This is a unique and interesting Iowa native, and it's showy in all stages with its clusters of white pom-poms. Ranging in height from 2 to 5 feet, it tolerates most any condition. Buzzing around it, you'll find bees, butterflies, moths, wasps, and flies seeking out its pollen and nectar. This is another native plant that's difficult to relocate once it's established, so plan well. In the garden, it can be featured as your main attraction or in a small grouping in just about any garden setting. Plant it with a purple blazing star for a great midsummer combo. And this is a picture from my garden, and it's paired with false sunflower.
What did you say to plant that one with?
Blazing star, or this is with a false sunflower. Next up, we have wild geranium. This is a common woodland plant, and it forms mounded masses of pink to purple flowers, and it's a great plant to offer pollinators support in the spring. The nectar and pollen in the flowers are super attractive to the pollinators, including solitary bees, bumblebees, and several species of butterflies. This would be a wonderful addition to your shade or woodland edge garden and can serve as a ground cover when planted in masses with attractive foliage all summer long. Next, we have prairie smoke that Dottie was telling us is blooming all over out at the railroad. Blooming at my house too, and this is a picture from my garden from last spring. It has dusty pink flowers, and they're a knockout in mid to late spring. But the real show starts as the blooms transform into pink feathery seed heads. Planting in masses will create a pink haze that can last up to a month. The basal leaves, or the leaves at the bottom, will stay green almost all year round and turn an attractive shade of red in the fall. Plant this beauty in your rock or dry garden beds in the foreground between later blooming flowers and grasses, such as pussy toes, nodding wild onion, and golden Alexander. Next, we have prairie alum root, and this is another new plant to me. It has unique greenish yellow flowers and forms a clump in average to dry soil. This plant would go great in your woodland garden, planted in masses as a ground cover, or just a couple plants as a decorative accent. It would go well with phlox, Pennsylvania sedge, and heart-leafed golden Alexander, which is also going to be on our sale. We'll talk about in just a little bit. Next up, we have the southern blue flag iris. And this beautiful native iris would do best in your moist areas, near a pond, rain garden, or around your bird bath in full sun. You can even plant it in shallow water, and it will tolerate some dry periods during the summer. It would go well with Canada anemone, cardinal flower, and boneset. Next, we have one of my favorite little grasses. This is June grass, shown here in my little backyard prairie patch behind our house. It's an excellent addition to your dry areas or rock gardens. Coming in at 2 to 3 feet tall, this short and compact grass mixes well with other low-growing dry prairie flowers like prairie smoke and purple prairie clover. And this is a cool season grass, which will be one of the first ones to start to turn green. That's why it's most exciting, I think. And it's best planted in the spring. Next, we have wild quinine. This is one of the best white flowered plants for prairie gardens, blooming for up to 3 to 4 months. Put this lovely plant with the rattlesnake master, purple coneflower, wild bergamot, nodding onion, butterfly weed, or prairie blazing star in your rain garden, prairie garden, or any informal garden setting. Next up is prairie phlox. This delightful plant packs a lot of punch for its small size. The bluish pink flowers are a real spring showstopper. It's adaptable and it will grow in moist to dry soil and will tolerate some shade. The ripe seeds explode and are very hard to collect. Add this beauty to the edge of your garden as a border, in an informal garden, or in a mass. As a mass planting, though, it will require some weeding as it doesn't have a lot of foliage down in the bottom. Next up is Jacob's Ladder. This is also another woodland perennial. Has very attractive foliage, numerous paired leaflets that form a ladder, and prolific flowers that stand out. Plant this spring beauty with violets, wild ginger, large flowered bellwort, or rue anemone. And this one spreads a little and can create a ground covering carpet, although I have not experienced mine spreading at all. Maybe it takes a long time. Mine's on its 4th year, I think. Next up is wild petunia. Don't let these delicate looking blooms fool you. This is the toughest petunia you will ever encounter. The flowers do resemble the cultivated petunias, but this perennial can grow in dry, sandy, and rocky soils as well as loamy clay. Plant this beauty in your hummingbird garden, informal garden, or prairie meadow in the foreground with other low growing grasses and flowers, such as prairie smoke and shooting star. Yes.
It also looks really good with butterfly weed. It blooms at the same time, and that purple and orange is great together.
I'm gonna add that to my notes.
You want to repeat that?
Sherry said it also looks really good with butterfly weed with the purple and the orange. And my daughter Lily wants to do the next slide. This is her slide. Stand up there. Right here. Oh, no. Here, I'll just hold it in the tongue.
One of the few red flowers of the North American prairie plant is red beauty with other short grasses and flowers to help control weeds. The nectar produced by this flower is a hummingbird favorite, and the sticky flower petals actually catch flies that the hummingbirds eat.
Good job.
What's the name of it?
This is a royal catchfly.
Nice job.
Didn't even write that for her. She just decided to read that one. All right, another grass.
Not listening.
It's not listening anymore. Now it says it's listening. We'll see. All right, prairie dropseed. This fine foliage grass grows in gorgeous emerald green mounds. It's well behaved in gardens and borders, planted about 2 feet on center in the straight or curved rows to make an excellent transition from garden to lawn. This beauty mixes well with any of the wildflowers and turns a beautiful golden in the fall. This plant can take a couple years to bloom, so patience is needed, but it is well worth the wait. Absolutely.
And that's true in general.
Next, we have the heart-leafed golden Alexander, and this is one of our earlier bloomers. It has smooth, glossy, heart-shaped leaves, possess small, silvery red teeth. Plant it with other spring flowers like prairie smoke and pussy toes in the foreground of your informal or prairie meadow garden. The long-lasting yellow blooms are a great nectar and pollen source for bees in the spring and a magnet for wasps, flies, beetles, and butterflies as the season goes on. And this one's shorty, 1 to 2 feet. Oh, that's the end. That went so fast. I'm so excited. I have my references that I use to get my information. I brought my books, The Gardener's Guide to Prairie Plants by Neil Dybel and Hillary Cox. You can see all my markings in there if you want to flip through there. And then my other favorite, Northern Gardener's Guide. This one particularly tells you nice plants that go along with the other plants, which I like that. And this one shows you pictures of all the stages like when they're little or bigger, and then when they bloom and when they go to seed. So that was really cool too. I also used prairienursery.com and Prairie Moon. They both have good information about native plants. And you can buy plants there too, but you could buy plants at our sale, which next, Friday, May 17th, from 3 to 6 is members only night. We'll have reduced price per plant, first choice. We'll have snacks. We always have snacks. There's snacks back there. We'll have a grant presentation at 5 o'clock. Then on Saturday, it's open to the public from 9 to noon. And it will be, I should tell you where it's going to be, 2801 South Cecilia Street, which is Tom and Sherry's beautiful outdoor space, all their gardens and between their houses. And Dawn, you're up next on grants.
Okay. So some of you have already heard about our grants and already applied. Good for you, because the deadline's April 30th, and here it is, April 13th. You guys are well ahead of the curve. So it's not listening to me.
Oh.
That's my children, like my children, not listening. There we go. So all the information that you need for the grants is on our website, lushills.wildlands.org, and right on the main page, there's a couple links you can click on. We have 2 categories of grants. The first category is for nonprofit groups. And so if you are working with a church or a school or whatever, railroad museum or another nonprofit, and you want to create a space or enhance a space or add to a space you already have started, we might consider your application. With that, you would receive a $400 cash award and also 1 flat of plants, which equals 32 plants, and that's another about $100 value or so, depending on the plants. We do have some restrictions. We want you to be within 75 miles of Sioux City. And the $400 can be used for things that will stay with the garden. So the plant, hopefully the plants will survive, but the plants, if you're looking at, like the mulch or signage or that kind of thing. So if you have questions, you can certainly talk to any of us board members or go and shout out an email to us, and we will be happy to assist with that. And it's a pretty straightforward application. It's not very long. So we just hope you, if you're interested, you'll consider maybe a nonprofit. Or the other great news is you as an individual could apply for an individual grant. And we're excited to offer this a possibility as well. If you are selected as an individual to receive a grant, you'll receive 32 plants of our native plants to be able to put into your garden. So both of those applications, as I said, are on our website. And I have not made copies of those applications, but if you really have a hardship and don't have access to the internet, see us, and we can probably work the magic of the Nature Center and get something to you today. So questions about the grants? They are due on the 30th of April, and you would be notified prior to the 17th of May if you receive the grant or not, because we'd love to have you there on that Friday the 17th for the award presentation to either get your plants and or cash in hand, or a check actually, but take some happy photos and see some great inspiration at Tom and Sherry's Gardens and learn more. So those are a little bit more about the grants. Anything more to offer on the plant sale or anything, Ruth or Tom or Sherry?
Just have a QR code.
And there's our QR code. We also have membership brochures that are new. If you're not a member and you want to learn more about that, so feel free to come up and get some of those things. Sign up for more information if you're so inclined, and please help yourself to the great treats. We're very happy you came today, and we'll be around to answer any questions, or if you have some questions right now, feel free to raise your hand or shout them up. You did such a great job. No questions. Lily, you did a great job on your plans. Pretty red one.
Can I have the plant in my garden?